Hey folks, this is Bailey from Dank Wargaming,
Hey, this is Heath from Table or Hawaii.
and welcome to the Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast. Our aim is to provide Dark Angels players with the tactical and hobby skills they need in order to compete and enjoy this wonderful hobby of ours. This month, it's happening, folks. It's finally here, the new Supplementary Codex, and now there's a lot in there, and I don't think Heath and I are going to be able to do all of it this month. Like, there's just so much. Wouldn't you agree, Heath?
Yeah, the codicils have delved deep into the data stacks of the Dreadwing and unearthed and brought to us the most powerful treatise on Dark Angel tactics and methodology that we have ever had.
Yeah, it's cool.
So
And
hold on to that, and we can get in there.
And the storyline's advanced, which is also epic.
So, fair to observe, I've had this book in my hand for about 1 hour. Whereas Bailey's had it for the whole day because I live in Hawaii and he lives in central North America. So there's a substantial time difference involved. So I've been over just the rule section. I haven't had a chance to look much into the lore yet, but we'll get there. And I think we'll discuss more about maybe we can entertain releasing at a higher rate of speed the next month or so, just to maybe try and get through some of this. But yeah, excited to bring all this stuff to you. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot to talk about here.
Right, and that's why today we're just going to look at each of our like top 5 hot takes. And if there's a little crossover, that's fine. Maybe we'll find a unique hot take. So we're looking between maybe 9 to 10 things that between the two of us that we found that just like it jumped out of us. Like, he's had the book for an hour. In an hour, this is what I found. I've had the book since about 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time because the guy that owns the game store around me, he lives upstairs in an apartment. So all I had to do is be like, all right, it's launch day. When can I come over? And he's like, as soon as you can get over here, I guess. So I rolled over there at like 10 o'clock this morning. I was like, all right, I'm here. I want my stuff. And we sat there and talked shop a little bit. So I don't have a complete grasp of everything. But I'm sure like Heath and I have talked about it a little bit. Like, we've been looking at a lot of the previews, and I did some preview articles on my website, the Dank Wargaming blog. So I have a little bit of an idea of what I was looking for, but I mean, there's some other stuff in there that didn't dawn on me till I got the full book in my hands. So, but like as Heath said, yeah, we've been discussing maybe upping the frequency. The only thing with that is I do have a couple tournaments coming up because I live in Indiana and our restrictions aren't nearly as strict as they are in the surrounding states. Like, I think in Michigan, and I'm not trying to, I'll stop here and say I'm not trying to get political or anything. I'm just saying, like, in general, like, Michigan's just allowed people to like go. I live 30 minutes from the border. They just let people go back to restaurants for like the first time, like this whole period basically. And I've been going and playing Warhammer and run a tournament in the last month. So like, Indiana's just like way more progressive on that right now.
Hey, all I gotta say is just do whatever your local local policies are. If it's acceptable and legal and safe to do that, and everyone that you play with is comfortable to do that, hey man, you do you. But there's no. Yeah, playing this game there's no reason to die for it.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just point that out because I do have a couple tournaments. So I'll have some like actual like, hey, this is like what's going on. I actually played some people that are and moved some minis, rolled some dice, and I died. And here's why.
That's nothing like actionable intelligence from the field to spur further discussion. So yeah, I've got a game scheduled for tomorrow on
nice.
Online using Tabletop Simulator, and I'm gonna smash a list together here. I got a couple of things I've sort of worked out, but maybe I'm hoping this discussion will prompt something else for me, and then I will be eager to report back with the result of that.
And also, speaking of TTS, when we get to the review of our monthly challenges, Heath and I got to play a game of TTS, and I got to pull off part of the monthly challenge. So we'll get to that in a bit. But the main thing here is it's time to move on to the new releases. So, all right, the main event is our Supplementary Codex came out. We get the standard edition at $30. You can get a collector's edition. I think, although it's already sold out online when I was looking earlier today, that was $65. Maybe they'll do a made to order like they did with the Indominus Crusade.
I would definitely get that. Yeah, for sure.
Data cards came out, $15. Blade Guard vets. Did you get any?
I for sure did. As a matter of fact.
Yeah. You're mine. Yeah.
Yeah. And my other main army come out next month. I'm never going to financially recover from this.
Don't worry. So, again, not trying to be political, but the Biden bucks are coming, so don't feel so bad. Eradicator's $50, but more importantly, Storm Speeder 65. That's what's out now. Got one of those.
Yeah, I picked up one of those too. I'm excited to give it a whirl and see what happens.
Now, did you get a combat patrol? They're coming out at 140.
I did not. I was talking with one of the proprietors of my friendly local game store. Shout out Other Realms, Honolulu, Hawaii. He's like, hey, I'm going to start selling these Dark Angel combat patrols, not for people who want to play Dark Angels, but for people who want Redemptor Dreadnoughts, because it is the only way you can get a Redemptor Dreadnought right now. So
yep. That's true. And I was telling the guy I was buying stuff from today that he's like, yeah, this is the only way. I'm like, yep. So just put it out there, let people know. If things don't move, all right, just go online because someone will buy it.
That being said, it is a fantastic. If you're just trying to get into Dark Angels, well, one, thanks for listening to the podcast. I appreciate you. Hopefully we can help you out. But everything in that box is good for this army. There are no wasted parts there. The only reason I didn't get it is because I've already got, 40-something intercessors, and I've got a full squad of inceptors. I guess I could probably get more. And I've got more chaplains I can shake a stick at because I've been playing this army for dang near 20 years. So, yeah.
Well, at the same time, too, for any Space Marine chapter, right, there's a Redemptor, there's three Inceptor dudes, a combat squad, and the Primaris chaplain. Who doesn't need that? With the Redemptor Dreadnought, who doesn't need that, regardless of whatever Space Marine army you are right now? That's the way to go. And then, interestingly, this was kind of came out under the radar. We have the Heroes of the Chapter for $75, which were all of the Primaris characters from Dark Imperium from 8th edition starter set that never got a single release. They never came
really. I did not hear about this.
So
I did not hear about this. Okay.
Because people were like, "Oh, well, I want to run Primaris Ancient," and people are like, "You realize the only way you could have got that is if you bought Dark Imperium," and that had been the case until this weekend when the Heroes of the Chapter came out. And it's him, the two lieutenants. Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head how many things are in there, but it was all the the command structure from that box that may have actually had the Gravis armor captain. I don't remember off the top of my head, but a lot of those things you could only get them in Dark Imperium. And
there was
you can get them separately.
Isn't there some Death Guards that you can only get in Dark Imperium, like that a biologist Putrefier, I think. Yeah, the super stinky flamey boy that really clutch to a lot of the Death Guard combos. You can only get in Dark Imperium, right?
It was the Lord of Contagion, and it was Lord of Contagion, and then maybe the Plague Caster. I think were the two things that were in there that you couldn't get. That was that specific sculpt.
I don't play that army, but I know that there's one of those models you can only get out of Dark Imperium, so it's good. You don't ever want to see models locked behind a paywall like that. So. It's been only, three and a half years? So, hey, it'll get there eventually.
Well, especially when you think about the fact that the only way to get heavy intercessors going forward, based on the most recent Warhammer preview, is a Kill Team box. So,
hey,
there you go.
I'm, you know what, Bailey? I hope you have a bleep button ready. 'Cause I'm in. I'm doing it.
Oh, I've already talked to a Necron
I need heavy intercessors in my life.
Yeah, I already got a Necron guy that I know. He's already going to get a box. I'm going to get a box. We're going to swap flayers and the Chronomancer or whatever is in there for heavy intercessors, and we're just going. I'm going to keep the train, though. I like the train. Yeah,
I'll definitely... I'll see if I can work a deal out like that with somebody local here. I need some of those heavy intercessors. So I will pay the tax. That's cool. Hey, you got me. So...
The other big thing is we got some new limited edition merchandise. We got some T-shirts, a hoodie, the poster, which I want to try and get. I have some posters behind me here now. I'm going to get the official poster. That's the cover art for the book, in which there's a full spread inside the new codex of the cover. It's where there's not just the dude standing there looking all cool with his plasma pistol, where it's got some Deathwing Knight dudes hanging out around him and stuff like that. That was $15, I think. But there's some... From the Warhammer merchandise official website, there's a There's like I can't remember if it's like Cypher. There's like a shirt with Cypher on it. Maybe another Interrogator Chaplain, and then there was like a cross section of a Dark Angels Predator Annihilator or something like that. It was kind of neat. So there's some stuff there.
I did pick up the Dark Angels ball cap from the GW swag shop though.
Yeah.
So I also got a mask. The masks don't fit super well. They look cool. I don't know if I could recommend them from a functionality standpoint, but it's just like a flat piece of cloth. Just like you'd probably do a better job like do your double mask or wrap your hydro flask or something. But my wife was like, "Oh, this thing looks great. It's really nice." I was like, "Well, thanks, but it doesn't work super good."
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. You want to do a quick swing through Metawatch? On our way to the main bit. So
I did host a 3K doubles tournament. That was won by an Imperial Fist player with a Blood Angels player. They top tabled against a Necron player and a Tau player, which interestingly, the Necron player got tabled pretty quick, but the Tau player ran the all missile broadsides, and even though they lost on primaries really hard, apparently the Space Marine players got kind of upset because they couldn't move off the primary objectives because they were winning the game by doing that, so they just had to sit there and pick up their models the whole game because these broadsides were wiping them out.
Well, hey, that's how the game works sometimes. The Las Vegas Nopen was this last weekend.
Yeah.
I took a quick spin through there. I watched some of the coverage. There was so much of it I couldn't watch all of it. But
right.
The top table was Drukhari versus Sisters of Battle / Custodes, and that's not something I think anybody really saw coming.
No.
So
for sure.
Funny fact, I think that the new Dark Angels Codex actually would pair pretty well into both of those lists. Obviously, they're being run by some of the titans of the industry.
Yeah.
But the Drukhari Codex is it's an OBSEC Russian doll. Here's 60 plus OBSEC bodies with toughness 5 and a 4-up invulse save, and Cabalite warriors, more of that, and they're all in little transports.
Yep.
And as soon as you blow up on the transport, OBSEC gets out.
Yeah.
And it's just so it's a little just distributed damage, what do we call those things? The word's escaping me. MSU. It's MSU.
Yeah. Multiple small units.
Yeah, multiple small units. Everything hits back fairly hard. Those so we ran Technomancers and mutagens. So in shooting, all of those shooting weapons could be overcharged to get +1 to wound and +1 damage. So all those venoms with splinter cannons. That sounds awful familiar, Heath. What? Hey, what is this? You don't say. Yeah, so those venoms with splinter cannons are wounding Space Marines on 3s and doing 2 damage per hit, but they don't have any AP. But they put out a lot of shots, just a lot of DACA. And then he had, I think, 2 or 3 Reapers, which are the big, big modified Ravagers. With a huge BDE on the front. And those things do, when they're overcharged, they're wounding everything on 2s and 4 plus D3 damage, right? Ugh. And D6 shots. Ugh. It does some hurt, right? And then he had your Cabal, the Blackheart Ravagers with the Rid of the Living Muse. So it's a lot of DACA, and there's not one thing you can look at and go, that's what I need to kill. That's right there.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of the in a strange turn of phrases, one of the worst things that we thought about the Drukhari Codex in edition was the Court of the Archon. They're little one model units that don't have the character keyword, that don't really do anything, and they're 15 or 20 points.
They don't have the character keyword?
Nope, they're not characters. They're not characters. One of them, the Slith, is a bodyguard who can pull wounds off of characters like his Archon, but they're not characters. Huh, but in 9th edition, that works really, really well because they're not characters, and therefore they can do a lot of the actions in the shadow operations. So
true.
And they don't take up because
slots.
They're members of the Court of the Archon, they don't take up slots in the detachment.
Yeah.
So as long as you have an Archon, they don't take up slots. So this list has 3 or 4 little units that are just action monkeys. They get, they sit there, they do an action, they jump out on the side of the board, they get engaged on all fronts. This list will die 95% of it every single game, but it's so much. everywhere. You just don't have, like, if you overkill any one thing, you've wasted firepower that needs to go to something else.
Yeah.
So, and that 4-up invul save just basically universally across the board is on all of their stuff that's not a vehicle is real tasty. The new Dark Angels Codex, I think, is gonna actually give that a run, because
I'm ready.
One of the things that one of the relics we talked about in our last episode for the Ravenwing, the Reliquary of the Repentant, did change. So It's no longer a -1 debuff to an invul save within 3 inches. Instead, it just debuffs it to a flat 5.
Yep.
So that's good in some ways, and it's worse in others. I personally think it's worse in a lot of ways, because it was like kind of my favorite piece of tech against demons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Taking you from a 5-up to a 6-up invul it just doubled the number of demons that you killed.
Or think about all the Tyranidan Orc lists where you ran the 6-up invuln bodies, and now they just don't have that invuln at all.
Yeah.
You just completely negate what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that KFF on that, I think it was to a minimum of 6. I think in the Ritual of the Damned it was to a minimum of 6. Yeah, to a minimum of a 6++. So, but now it just makes it a 5, right? So that's, the demons stop caring about it. But, Prophets of the Flesh, they're not a fan of that.
Harlequins.
And Harlequins are also not a fan of that. What's really not a fan of that? Anybody that's got an old style storm shield. Which leads me into our next list, which was a Sisters of the Battle and Custodes kind of super friends. It was just a bunch, just so many sisters with multi-meltas, just so many sisters shooting, and then 2 giant bricks of 10 Custodian Guard with storm shields. Toughness 5, 3 wounds each, 3+ invulnerable save, 2+ armor, right in the middle. Hey, best of luck, mate. Here's my brick, right? And then just shooting over top of that with sisters, a Bloody Rose. So they are not to be trifled with when they charge you. They will get the damage done. Once again, I think the Dark Angels are well positioned to handle a list of this style with the same kind of tech that we just talked about, so that debuffing any 3+ invulnerable saves to a 5+ is pretty good. And the fact that we've got Weapons of the Dark Age back, but what's up, baby? It means all of our plasma can spike from 1 to 3 damage. So Custodian Guard, we're going to wound you on 3s, where you got a 5-up invul save, and we're going to do 3 damage, and every single failed save is a dead Custodian Guard. And Ravenwing with OBSEC, that are faster than you, that are almost as fast as the freaking Drukhari, and with all the stuff the Interromancy discipline can do to manipulate ops, oh baby, we're in a good spot. So, obviously it's easy to say how my list would beat a list I'm reading about on the internet, because I didn't have to make it all comers and take it. But this is stuff that I think I would take just about all the time. The Reliquary, that really is a meta choice, but this is the 2 lists that kind of went all the way as through some of the best players in the world by some of the best players in the world. So
you'll see it. People are going to play it. Well, and the best list, the best monofaction list right now, according to some of the articles I've been seeing from Games Workshop, from Goonhammer, are still Harlequins, and they survive on that 4-up invul. So if you can negate that 4-up invul, then you have the Reliquary, and then have that one suicide librarian that goes in and casts Null Zone, and then you're just and now you die. Now, speaking of places that don't have crazy COVID restrictions, and people getting games in, at the Battle in the Bush GT, which was in Australia, I believe, there was a placing Dark Angels list. Did you hear about this, Heath?
I did not. Please do tell.
Well, I got a link in the show notes if you want to go look at it yourself. But the key things that I saw there, all right, the alarms, set the alarms off. This dude ran TAC Marines.
Okay. Hey, no, that's not controversial. That's not controversial at all anymore. I'm 100%
I was so
okay
happy
with
to
this.
see it. But they were there to spam grav cannons. There were a lot of grav cannons in this list. There were Devastator squads with grav cannons. All the tax squads had grav cannons. You saw the double Talon Master. There were big blobs of regular Terminators, of just the Deathwing Terminators, not the Knights. So from what I understand, when I would run a list like that, it's because when they come in, that's a lot of strength 4 AP -1 shots coming in at a deep strike. And now with the new Codex, where you deep strike and get +1 to wound, it's a whole bunch of strength 4 -1 with +1 to wound. It's going to be gross. And then that's
going to be good. Yeah.
And then based on what you were telling us last month, we were looking at the Raven Wing. He had 2 of the, what do you call them? The Land Speeder Vengeances, which at 120 with Weapons of the Dark Age back, even without
spikes
it,
to 4
it was
damage.
looking good. But now it's 4 damage.
2d3 shots, spikes to 4 damage.
And if you roll a 1, it takes a mortal wound, and then you just heal it with a Tech Marine if you got one nearby. It's a lot less riskier than running Hellblasters, where you want to have an Ancient babysitting them, and an Apothecary, so when they die to your ones, you can bring them back. Or, they shoot again, and then they come back. But
I'm going to check something real quick. So in 8th edition, the Landspeeder Vengeance had a rule, whereas if its main dorsal cannon suffered an overheat, then it lost the weapon was destroyed. It lost its ability to shoot.
Ooh. I know that's
that is no longer the case.
Past.
That is no longer the case. Oh, and it went up in strength too, I think. Oh, wow.
A lot of the plasma weapons, when that Weapons of the Dark Age was taken away, a lot of things went up just naturally.
So yeah, the Landspeeder Vengeance is now in its standard profile, strength 8 -3, 2 flat damage, blast, heavy 2d3, and it supercharges strength 9 -3, 3 flat damage, blast, unmodified hit rolls 1, caused overheat, which is just a mortal wound, compared to 8th edition, where if you rolled 1, you lost the weapon. And it was 3 mortal wounds, if I recall correctly.
And it looks like this list, it went 4-1, and its lost was the last game. So I'm wondering if it played then the 5-0 list, which was a White Scars list with Inquisition, and lost potentially 80-74. So it wasn't even like it was a blowout or anything. Like, it was really, really close.
Yeah, you get a couple new toys, and I think White Scars are one of the things. I think White Scars are one of the things that I'm still kind of maybe struggling in my head, because they're going to be on you ASAP, and with all their close combat weapons doing 2 damage. But I don't know. We can tech that out. We can think about that. So
just
hey man,
cursors. It's really fun to go fast when you can only go 9 inches into incursors.
Yeah, that's true. I have considered the grab cannon thing. Like, I think the Dark Angels could make back when we had the extra 6 inches range, because we don't anymore. In case you have a rule book. I mean, if you haven't heard of the new codex and you're listening to this podcast, well then once again, hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. But it should be well aware. Most people listening to this are probably well aware that our super doctrine has completely changed. Which is when I found that the old one had a bit of a spot in my heart. There was definitely some interesting uses for it, but the new is the new ones, because there's more than one, are super good. But grab
my
cannons.
problem is I just finished painting my Gladiator Valiant to run with the old doctrine, and now it's gone, and the tank's painted, and now it's just going to go into case.
Well, I don't think it's quite so dire as that. But hey, grab cannons. If you bring grab cannons down in a drop pod, they can still do some work, because you still have a stratagem that gives you basically steady advance, so they can any infantry unit counts as not moving. So now your grab cannon hitting on 2s.
There's another way to do that I'm going to bring up in the hot takes, which is part of the thing you're going to like.
So yeah, I'll go take a look at that list. That sounds interesting. I definitely think that tactical marines are, now that scouts are elites, I think the tactical marines might be a good option as kind of your backfield like objective sitters, because give them a plasma gun and a las cannon, and they hit on 2s, man. They can, and you charge them, they're still space marines. They'll still do some work. So I think that we could actually recommend potentially a couple of small squads of tactical marines as objective sitters. They can still participate in the game, and they are durable enough that you're going to have to think about it to get them off those objectives. So
and because they can go and drop pods, that's a turn 1 deep strike threat into your opponent's home objectives. And I was talking to my roommate the other day, because he plays Marines and Drakari and all that too, that you can run. Let's say you run 5 tac squads and 5 drop pods. You go first. You drop all the drop pods on all the objectives. All your guys hop out and raise banners on every single objective turn 1.
You can only do each. An action can only be done once. So like, you can't perform the same action multiple times in the same turn.
But isn't Raise the Banners the one exception, because it's the number of points for the number of banners that you have up at any given time?
I don't know. Let's take a look. We got the book.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I still need to get that book. I just bum it off my roommate or my opponent. I'm pretty bad about that, unfortunately. But I think that's
Right.
the one that goes around that, because you score your command phase for every one you have. And that's one of the reasons why it's been so popular. I might be wrong.
It says raise banners. It says if you select this objective, your opponents can or your units in your army can perform the following action. Raise banners action. One or more infantry units from your army can start to perform this action. One or more can start to perform. So yeah, you're right. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Clutch piece of wording. One or more infantry units can start to perform this. That's still a big investment because drop pods ain't cheap anymore.
No.
That's a big investment, but there's definitely something there. So, and you have to be on them. You have to be, and that starts in your at the end of your movement phase. So I guess, if you want to plan, there are some of those that are 2-3s. You're probably going to have one in your deployment zone.
Yeah.
And that's just an infantry unit. It doesn't say an infantry non-character.
Right.
So I guess if you had a jump pack character, which you will see, I am going to recommend, you could jump him up, and he could start to raise a banner. And yeah, if you have a couple of a drop pod or two, or you have a drop pod and then a impulsor with maybe some other little dudes in it, which once again we're probably going to recommend, then yeah, you can make a strong push forward. And one of the things that the Dark Angels are going to be really good at moving forward is dictating the pace of the game.
Yeah. And
especially with your Raven Wing. So your Raven Wing are going to push forward and make big problems for people, and that allows you to operate with on your own agenda, while you've caused them to handle these disruption units, these fast cavalry that are deep in their lines, just rolling their base on turn one. Yeah. So, all right, I think we've naturally segued into talking about how things are going now, but
what are these hot takes?
Dude, I'm pumped. I am pumped. Okay, so here's the deal.
Me one. I'm ready. Pitch one at me.
All right. So, I think that Dark Angels have a strong argument for making a old school 8th edition style Smash Captain.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the deal. Let's take there's a couple different ways you can do this. A couple different ways. I'm going to start with a interrogator chaplain from the book. So he's like 80 points, 85 points.
I know where this is going. This is a good call.
Right. So if you give him, so you can take a warlord trait out of the main Space Marine book. Right. So give him I'm looking over at my book right now.
It's all good.
If you use where'd it go?
Sword, Imperium Sword.
Hero of the chapter. You give him Hero of the chapter, so he gets Imperium Sword. That's +1 attack, +1 strength, reroll charges. Right?
Yeah.
Or am I thinking the old school Imperium
one of
Sword?
those, I think it might be against characters. I think that one you have to charge a character to do it. So make sure you declare a charge against a character when you charge. No.
Reroll charge rolls. It's the Champion Humanity that rerolls against characters. So you go Imperium Sword.
Okay.
Right? And then, once you got Imperium Sword, you can just pick the relic for flavor. So you can take either the Benediction out of the main Space Marine book for that flat 3 damage, or you can take the Mace Redemption, which honestly is out of the Dark Angels book, which is probably a better option. So it replaces a Power Maul or a Crucius. It is +2. Sorry, it's a ×2 strength.
Yeah.
It's
-2 damage, I think.
Yep, -3, 2 flat damage. And each time an attack is made with this weapon against a fallen or heretic Astartes unit, an unmodified wound roll of a 4+ inflicts 2 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
So you do your boy's got 4 attacks base, 5 on the charge, shock assault, 6 on the charge with Imperium Sword.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got 6 attacks, and then he's hitting on 2s.
Yeah.
Because basically kind of a flat thunderhammer. It's got no penalty to hit, and anytime you're doing 2 flat damage, you're going to be wounding most things on 3s, or even infantry on 2s, most things on 3s, and then you're going to, if they're chaos, you're going to do 2 mortal wounds on a 4+. Yep. Here's where it gets spicy. Is you got 2 options. One, if you're going to take a librarian, and you're going to want to take a librarian with the Dark Angels, you use Righteous Repugnance. Righteous Repugnance, you cast Righteous Repugnance on this guy because Righteous Repugnance can
no.
target any Dark Angels
Oh, no.
unit. And Righteous Repugnance allows you to reroll all hits and wounds. Warp charge 7. So now he's rerolling his own hits and he's rerolling his own wounds. It's not failed wounds. It's just wounds. So if you want, you can reroll wounds and chase those 4-ups against Mortarion.
Yep.
Or whatever you need to do.
Knight,
right?
Or
a Chaos Knight.
Or
more likely you're going to see Mortarion or Blightlord Terminators.
Yep.
Mortal Wounds don't give a single F about your damage reduction for Disgusting Resilience.
Because it's a single instance of 1 damage every time one goes through.
Yeah.
No matter how many of them there are.
So that's that. So then, because he's Deathwing, he's Inner Circle. So he's got permanent Track 2 in Physiology. He's already got a 4-up in Ball Save because he's a Chaplain, because he's got his Rosarius. And if you don't get Righteous Repugnance off, that's cool, because on Battle Round 3, you're in your Assault Doctrine and your Deathwing Doctrine of is implacable. You reroll wounds against characters and vehicles anyway. So
and I noticed you haven't mentioned Mantra of Strength yet.
Yeah, you could. You absolutely could. Then you can just make this. You can just turn this to 11. You absolutely can. Yeah. So the reason I don't think you need Mantra of Strength necessarily is that he's already Mantra of Strength is going to give you that extra +1 damage. So it'll make it damage 3.
No, not just the damage. It's the +2 of Strength, +1 attack.
So
+1 Strength, +1 attack. There's some sort of Strength bonus and an attack bonus. You want that extra die.
Yeah, I want the extra attack. I don't know if the +1 Strength is really going to matter.
No, not when it's ×2. But yeah, the damage is good. If you don't get
so he gets the +1 Strength on attack. So I don't think Mantra in 8th edition. I don't think Mantra of Strength gave a bonus to attack. It was just Strength and damage. So that's cool. So yeah, and he can get the Canticle of Hate, so he can
maybe.
And he can do the Canticle of Hate, so that he can reroll. He can add 2 to his charges and consolidate extra inches. So if you use the Master of Sanctity, you can do that. So while we're talking about Deathwing Chaplains, real quick, I want to bring up something else that I just noticed, and that actually touches on an interesting piece of Dark Angels lore. So we do have a named chaplain.
Asmodee.
Right? Asmodee. He is the preeminent Interrogator Chaplain, but he is not the Master of Sanctity.
And I know why, because it's in the new Codex. There's a big chunk on him.
Yep, he is not the Master He is not the lead Interrogator Chaplain. I don't remember that cat's name right now, but he's not it. He doesn't have the Master of Sanctity keyword. So what this means is you can take Asmodee, who actually has a couple of interesting rules, and still take a Master of Sanctity upgraded from the Space Marine Codex chapter command rules. As Asmodee's special thing is, you got the Blades of Reason, which are still kind of meh. They're +1 strength, 0 AP, 2d3 damage with +1. With you can only fight. It only gets 1 attack, and whatever. But he's got the Aura Dread, which is the special interrogator thing. Yeah. Interrogator chaplains get a 6-inch aura, where if you fail a leadership check, you count as being below half strength.
Yeah. Instead of what it used to be, so just like -2.
It was just -1 leadership, I think.
Okay. It was just like minus your leadership, but now this is much more powerful.
Yes, it is, because if you fail a leadership check, then you're going to lose a third of that unit.
Yeah.
So the other thing is Exemplar of Hate. Every time he checks to see if the Litany of Hate is inspiring, he gets +1 to that roll, and it gets +3 inches of range.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so if you're trying to build a chaplain around that, he is a 9-inch bubble for his Litany of Hate that goes off on a 2. So
yeah, that's pretty good.
But he can only recite 1 litany. So he's just but he knows the Litany of Hate and 2 others. So he knows the initial one, but he only gets to preach 1.
And that's where the being a Master of Sanctity helps, because you get to preach 2.
You can preach 2. And there's a bunch of interesting stuff that I think that the Green Wing are going to rely on a lot. Actually, all 3 wings are going to rely on that Masters of Sanctity, that using the commanding oratory that lets you preach a chaplain or preach a discipline preach a prayer out of the normal sequence, right? That is going to be clutch. So
for your deep striking ones.
Yeah, so when someone deep strikes in, or you hop out of a transport, then you can, once that happens, preach a prayer out of sequence, and then give them a buff when they weren't on the battlefield during the command phase. So that's my the first phrase. I was like, I'm gonna make a slight change to this, because that's like basic, the starting argument. So nothing in the Space Marine Codex allows you to take multiple warlord traits on a single character. So the Dark Angel stratagem, Paragon of the Chapter, does. It says, use a stratagem after nominating a Dark Angel's character that is not a named character to be your warlord. Generate one additional warlord trait for them. This must be from the Dark Angel's warlord traits table. It doesn't say they can't already have one, like the Hero of the Chapter does. Hero of the Chapter says they cannot already have one. So you could give this guy a second warlord trait. For example, stubborn tenacity. To make him, he's too dumb to die. Or what is it? You could give him a 6-inch heroic intervention with Honor of the First Legion. Or
-1 to hit.
No, that's a relic. That's the Shroud of Heroes.
Oh, the -1 to hit's a Raven Wings warlord trait.
It's a Raven Wing one. It's lightning fast reaction. So you could give him Watched or Inexorable. So he could get that -1 damage.
Oh yeah, that's good too.
Right. Yep. So, and note, if you have Inexorable and you get him, you could. Nope, never mind. Pen and Remembrance would work on him, because Pen and Remembrance require a core unit, and he'd be a character. But Calibanite Knight. Let's talk about Calibanite Knight.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So here's what I'm thinking. The way I originally envisioned this was a Dark Angels, a Deathwing captain with a jump pack and the Teeth of Terra. So
exactly. 4
attacks, +1 of the charge, +3 from the teeth, Imperium sword. Wait, I lost track. There's too many fingers. So 4 base, +1 for the.
You have 6 fingers on your right hand.
+1 for the sword. That's, hey, I worked on nuclear power plants for a long time, but not that long. So 6 from Imperium sword. 3 more from the Teeth of Terra, right? And then Calibanite Knight lets you you wound all infantry and bikers on a 2+ with your weapon.
Yeah, gross. It'll
so
clear out screens like crazy.
Yeah, and then your if you're Deathwing, so you're got inner circle, you got that 4-up armor save, or sorry, that 4-up invul, and if you run up against a character, you can just reroll that 1. So you're going to be, hitting on 2s and wounding on 2s, probably re-rolling the wounds on your probably re-rolling the ones on your wounds. So with 9 attacks on the charge, Teeth of Terror, Strength 5, AP -2, 2 flat damage. If you're in the Assault Doctrine, it's going to be AP -3. That is money.
And I want to point out,
that's real good.
If you want to know how to make an Interrogator Chaplain with Jump Pack, Dankless Wargaming's blog that I maintain, I did that guy a couple months ago, and if you go look through our Facebook and Instagram, he's painted on there. So if you want to see how to make one, I have an easy way to do that. That involves Primaris Reaver helmets and Dark Angels Veterans box, and I think I used Vanguard Vet Jump Pack. So if you want to see how to make one for yourself, because Heath's got you all excited about that, I can help you out there.
All right, that's my first hot take. Dark Angel Smash Captain for the win. So many options. Remember, you can always Righteous Repugnance that guy to get the reroll once to hit on your character that you don't normally be able to get. And he's got 2 different ways to reroll those wounds, so whether it's from Righteous Repugnance or from his inbuilt Deathwing Implacable super doctrine. On to you.
I'll keep the Deathwing thing rolling, because the thing that I think, because we've talked about leading into this, what kind of librarian, because obviously you're going to run a librarian with all the new Interromancy powers, because they're so powerful, where you can turn off somebody's aura, not contagions, we're not allowed to do contagions, but you can do auras. You can take away people's obsec and things like that. You can reduce the number of attacks somebody has if they're close to you, and give them -1 to hit on top of that, which is just rude. But the question is, do you want to put Ezekiel in your list, or do you want to make, and what I think is going to be pretty silly, is a Phobos Librarian. All right, because Phobos Librarian or librarian in Phobos armor is Deathwing, which means he now has
Yep.
Inner Circle.
Yep.
And he
All
forward
Deathwing have
deploys.
Inner Circle.
And he can deploy anywhere. And because he's Primaris, he can go in the Impulsor with my Blade Guard vets and my Deathwing Primaris captain and fly around in the Impulsor. And they all hop out together with Rights of War and all the other things you can get off your captain, plus turning off other people's OBSEC, plus, all the other silliness that you can do. So you can ride around in there with them. And the thing that I found that's actually been really powerful playing with a lot of Phobos models is that you have this guy that can turn off OBSEC, can turn off Aura, so he's a huge, huge threat to the enemy army. And if he's at the end of your movement phase, if he's more than 6 inches away from an enemy model, he can go back into strategic reserves from anywhere on the board.
Yep.
So if you really want to play mind games with people, you put that guy out there with forward deploy, with maybe some incursors or something to protect him, and say, this is the guy with all these spells that messes all your stuff up. And they send a bunch of dudes over there to go kill him. And then your turn you go, and now he's gone. And he will appear somewhere before turn 3 so he doesn't die. But he will reappear somewhere. And to me, that's just to create, having that flexibility of, I can put him in a transport. I can put him outside my deployment zone. I can put him in my deployment zone. I can remove him from the battlefield and redeploy him off a board edge mid-game. There's just so much maneuverability with him, and that's sort of my play style, which is one of the reasons why I play Dark Angels, because you can play Ravenwing, just go crazy with mobility. But having this librarian that can kind of bounce around and be put in a couple different places, I think is really, really scary. However, I understand the power of Ezekiel, because if I want to run a Green Wing list, which when the new Kill Team box we mentioned earlier comes out and I can run 10 heavy intercessors with Ezreal, I'll throw Ezekiel in there so that way, because he has a free honor Viamont, because he gives everyone around him +1 attack that doesn't stack with Shock Assault. So when you go to that turn 2 fight, because there's all sorts of things to keep things from falling back, and we're not worried about having to fight into the next turn, because then we get +1 to hit. So he basically turns Shock Assault on all the time just by himself. Plus he's a chief librarian, so he has the +1 to cast all these really hard to cast spells, which are 7s are now 6s, which is not as intimidating. And I can't remember what else. His sword's not too bad either, from what I remember.
Ezekiel's sword, yeah. So I think it's a D3 damage weapon, but against Psychers or
It's
Heretic Astartes, it's a flat 3. So the big thing is he's got a native 4-up invul save.
Oh, that was the other key
thing.
thing. Yeah, the Phobos guy doesn't have one, but this guy's a native 4-up, which is amazing. Now, this is not to say you can't give the Phobos one. You can give him Artifice Armor, so now he has 2-up armor save, so you put him in cover. He has a 1-up armor save and a 5-up invul. That's insane.
Yeah. Yep. So, the psychic powers require their own in-depth treatment. There's so much about the psychic powers from this book that we're gonna have to really I'm sure there's a bunch of other podcasts that have kind of gone down the list, but there's a lot of things here that really tickle my fancy.
Yeah,
and this book is going to
this guy
to
do all that crazy stuff.
So I'm gonna all right. I think Phobos librarians. The Phobos units are one of the things that are definitely underappreciated.
Yes.
Well, I have played against. I played against some people in tournaments with Ultramarine Phobos, and really just kind of, oh wow, look at that! I didn't. Ooh. Yeah. Okay.
They're very
sneaky. We need to. We were actually preparing a whole show about Phobos, and then the new Codex came out, and so we're gonna have to go back and take a look at some of that stuff again. Yeah. So fair enough. We'll do that work. But so I agree with you. I think the Phobos is there's a lot of interesting stuff there. So okay. Next thing I'm gonna do is Ravenwing Ancient.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ravenwing Ancient, he's got his little banner, his little thing. So if you make him the Chapter Ancient, and then you give him the Warlord trait Steadfast Example. Steadfast Example.
Oh, yeah.
May Warlord trait Aura. While a friendly Chapter Core unit was within 6 inches of Warlord, that unit has OBSEC. If it already has OBSEC, it gets double OBSEC. So now all of my bikes in my Ravenwing Outrider detachment, my Black Knights are now OBSEC, my Outriders are double OBSEC, and my Ravenwing bikes are double OBSEC. So I'm writing lists with units of 5 bikes, just not Black Knights, just bikes.
Yeah.
Because they're going to count as 10 models when they're next to this guy. And paired with my librarian's ability to turn off your OBSEC, hey man, best of luck. You're gonna have a hard time shifting me off that.
And the thing I've been looking at is the fact that you can run. If I run a guy with Rights of War, giving my unit OBSEC, and then does this
Steadfast example
would top of that to then bump him up to count as 2?
I think it does, and I don't see why it wouldn't, unless it's been FAQ'd recently and I haven't noticed it.
Has been.
So you can do your Ravenwing Captain or your Ravenwing Chaplain with Rights of War, and then the Ancient next to him with Steadfast Example. The other thing we're going to mention about this is my Ravenwing characters, my Apothecary and my Ancient and my Champion, they can take, instead of the Plasma Talons on their bikes, they can take Astartes Grenade Launchers. And Astartes Grenade Launchers are on Ravenwing bikes are what you target for the Stasis Cell stratagem. That whole discussion we had last podcast about how powerful the airplanes with the stasis bombs are that keep you from falling back, so you could just roll in and use them as an anchor point to prevent people from shooting you. Now you can shoot that at somebody with a 2 CP stratagem. So
do you know why they have these stasis? At least the Dark Talons have the stasis. Stasis.
Yeah. I know we're drinking, man, but geez, come on.
Yeah. I have a little bit of that list thing going on. My bad. Oh. But it's in the new codex, the lore section. They explain the reason why these stasis shells are on these guys or on the Dark Talon is because they have like these little like canisters that they put the Fallen in on the Dark Talon. Like it tortures them while they're doing that.
They talked about that in Vigilus Defiant. There was a whole series where remember Marnius Calgar once he deposed the ruling council of Vigilus because gene stealers, and he created the Vigilus Senate, which was comprised of officers from all chapters in Imperial armed forces that were defending Vigilus. The Dark Angels representative was a lieutenant, right? I'll tell you, I was in the Navy for 20 years. Lieutenants are you don't send a lieutenant to a high-level staff meeting unsupervised. My apologies to all the officers and gentlemen out there, but hey, that's just my experience with that.
If you didn't read Vigilus, a lot of this gets caught up fast forward.
They did. And when he was asked about hey, what are these airplanes you guys have? And he's like, oh, we call them Dark Talons. What are they for? You don't need to worry about that. You don't need to worry about what's going on behind the curtain, man. So one simply does not pry into the business of the First Legion.
Yeah, and in the Codex, there's another lore bit where Marnius Calgar is these Dark Angels guys didn't really do what they were supposed to. They just kind of left the White Scars hanging at one point, and just this lieutenant. They mentioned the lieutenant. They're like, this guy didn't really answer any of our questions, and they just kind of went off and did their own thing. But at the same time, where they did show up, they kicked a lot of backside and saved us. So I don't want to complain because then we look like jerks for complaining about them. But they kind of didn't do what they were supposed to do.
So, yeah. The station shells, it actually was a stratagem in the previous codex.
Yeah.
It just sucked. I don't even remember what it did. I literally never saw it used or even heard of it being used. But now,
or something.
Yeah, that might have been it. I don't know.
This is way.
I could look it up on Wikipedia, but yeah, this is way cooler. Now, I honestly think that this is going to be, I don't want to say the preeminent, but the highest level tactical play in the new codex is having that set up so I can shoot a grenade at you, and then whatever you need to do to figure out how to make that grenade hit. So there's arguments for putting one grenade launcher in your Black Knight squads because they're core, so you can benefit from a captain reroll. Shoot a grenade at somebody, pin them with that so they can't fall back anymore, and then you just assault them. And the 9th edition rules for assault are way more forgiving about not getting into combat. So if I just kind of hang back, 0.6 inches away from the guy who's actually touching, I don't support his attacks. So now I do 3 attacks. I don't kill anybody, and then I consolidate in, boom. And as long as I'm touching you, and then they don't, use morale shenanigans or something to fall back, or to kill me out of morale, or kill themselves out of range of that, then you've just got yourself a little springboard. You've got an island you're standing on, probably deep in their deployment zone, that you're just fine.
Yeah,
And they can't
exactly.
ignore that. A big ass unit of Black Knights probably have 4, 5, 6 plasma talons. That's 10, 12 shots, right? With weapons of the Dark Age, they're doing 3 damage each. They're core.
Oof.
So, if I see a little lonely unit of dudes hanging out, I'm going to tag them with a stasis shell, roll in there, touch them. I'm going to have 3 or 4 units touch them, right? My Black Knights are going to touch them. My Bite Captain might try to get in there and touch him, or at least hide or get surrounded up. And next turn, he's going to swamp me. Hey, that's cool. I'm going to fight you. I get +1 to hit if I didn't move.
Exactly.
I'm gonna beat you out of it, and if I don't beat you, and if I don't kill you if I don't kill you to let me move freely, we have a stratagem that lets a Ravenwing unit for 2 CP fall back after they have fought. So if I fight you, I'm like, crap, there's 1 or 2 guys left, and they're just gonna pin me in combat. I'm gonna pay 2 CP. I'm gonna peace out anyway. Then my turn, next turn, hey, I can shoot and move as normal. So
and there's a
now you've got
trait
that
for your captain where he can fall back and still shoot and charge too.
Yes, he is the master of maneuver, which is what Samael has. So having those two, that's a good combo right there. I think that's probably my 3rd hot take. So I just rolled straight in my next one.
That's all right.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one. And and when we get to the monthly challenge, we'll talk a little bit more about that, because you used to be able to do that just on the Dark Town with a bomb. They reworked its bomb to do that. And the one thing I think is crazy, and I was talking to my buddy Chris when we were looking at the book, that how the Death Guard book and this book, the way you interact with the game is vastly different, right? The Interromancy spells, the bomb, right? Instead of doing like a bunch of mortal wounds, like it does a little bit, but then it does this other thing, right? Because the Dark Town bomb used to like do up to 10 mortal wounds, but now it just does D3, and now you can't fall back. And the game seems to be pushing people towards these sort of different effects. Usually things affect weapon skill or strength or ballistic skill, but that's not what we're seeing anymore. And with Death Guard, it's toughness. With Dark Angels, it's your ability to have obsec, your ability to have auras, your ability to even fall back. Like it's all being taken away from you.
I agree. I think that previous editions of the game, you like the models interacted with each other, right? Wounds, they interact with their stat lines. Yeah. Now we're seeing you interact with the other more fundamental rules of the game, right? Like interrupting turn order, which was the thing you could do last edition. And now, fallback, you got these contagions like the Death Guard have. Yeah. The ability to interrupt actions. So you're interacting with the game mechanics on a whole different level than just the model's stat lines, which I personally really enjoy because I think it adds an interesting level of depth and complexity.
Yeah,
there are people that don't. I got some people in my local area that pine for the glorious days of 5th edition. That's fair. I mean, 5th edition was a fantastic edition, but I think that having the ability to interact with the game on a whole other set of levels than just the model stat line is a really interesting piece of game design. So.
I'll keep it rolling. I'll follow suit. I'll go to my next hot take has to do with the Ravenwing as well, and I'm going to talk about the stratagem targeting guidance.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about this too.
So this is what I was telling you about earlier. If you hadn't found it, I was going to enlighten you to this, right? So you have your Storm Speeder, your Land Speeder. So I think it's 2 CP. You pick something that's within 18 inches invisible. Everything in your army gets +1 to hit against it.
Yep.
All right, put into the fact you have the new combat doctrines. We have the split 3-part doctrine. Turn 1, Ravenwing has their Speed of the Raven. Now, instead of getting, because that used to be a stratagem which was like advance and charge, I think, or advance and charge and shoot.
Yep, it was advance charge and shoot as if normal. Basically, like you stood still, you could advance charge.
Yeah. So now you get +3 to your move, and if you advance, you treat all your weapons like they're assault weapons, so everything is
actually that's not quite how it's worded. I think this is actually a subtle difference. So it says you shoot them, and it says you suffer a -1 penalty to hit as like in a similar fashion to assault weapons.
Right, they don't become assault weapons.
They don't become assault weapons, which is good because you keep the higher number of shots that rapid fire weapons get.
And certain things, I'm assuming this is to stop certain buffs and other things from triggering from going off, because that they don't want like your heavy weapons that are now magically assault weapons getting these assault weapon buffs. All right, I understand that. So they're treated as if they're assault weapons. which is good because now everything your army had Ravenwing before due to the new rules. If you have your detachment and everything's Dark Angels and they are Ravenwing, now they gain Jink. So this is what everybody was praying and hoping that Games Workshop would give us when we got told we were getting thrown into the main codex and we had our Index Astartes, and wow, only the Dark Angel specific stuff gets all the cool rules. Why can't my Codex Space Marines models get this? Well, now they do. So we got what we wanted, ladies and gentlemen. And so you have that. So now you take your speeder, right? You run it up there. You pick something within 18 inches. So now that -1 does not apply to that one squad, that knight, that Magnus, that Mortarion, that tank, whatever it is. That one thing, your whole army, including all these things that just advanced to get their 4-up invuln, that now, have this -1 penalty, well, it's gone. And we were talking earlier about the drop pods, right? You can drop something in on your drop pod, spend 2 CP or is it 1 CP? I can't remember. But the strategy to make it counts if they didn't move, so they get the +1 to hit, and they don't get the -1. It's 2.
I'm pretty sure it's 2. Yeah.
Well, now you don't have to worry about that. There is a little bit because you can basically get it to a 2, but you can do that on one of them anyway with the Sergeant and Devastator squad. But now, in order to kind of save points, you can just do this. Just drop the drop pod in on line of sight, whatever that speeder is going to target, and the guys hop out. They moved with their heavy weapons, but they get +1 now from this ability. Now we're going to unload our Meltas, our Grav cannons, our Las cannons, our missile launchers, whatever you want, into that thing. And I think that's for sure. I think that is going to be it's like the Doom thing that Eldar were doing back in the day where they would doom your biggest thing, and then they'd run all their Harlequin bikes out there with their 4-ups. They do mortals, like you were talking earlier with the smash
with the rerolls. And
just go
before
nuts.
I'm not gonna lie, I ran that list. I didn't do it with Harlequin bikes. I did it with Dark Eldar Raptors, but that was real. The Doomseer was real good. So I think this is kind of similar to like the Tau had one of these where it's like if you hit something, you could give everyone in your army +1. Is there a +1 to hit, +1 to wound? But it was expensive. So this is just kill that thing, right? And you have to get a land speeder within 18 inches of it. But it's a Ravenwing land speeder, and they are quick. Also, don't forget the hunt for 2. So you get +3 inches to move on turn 1 because of the Devastator Doctrine, and you can get a full pre-game normal move with the hunt. So if I'm like, hey, this dude just put Mortarion out on the line, ready to roll, and I got first turn, guess what? We're doing this. We are doing this, and everyone moves up. And I hunt my land speeder forward. That's as if my pre-measurement doesn't tell me I don't have to do this. I can hunt the land speeder forward, jump in there, zack this guy with +1 to hit. The entire army just nukes him. Yeah.
I was going to say, I can't imagine an army that's just been released that has that one model that I want to kill really, really quick. Oh, yeah, Death Guard.
Yep, and Magnus.
Yep.
And like I said, hey, Magnus.
If you see it.
Magnus got off his 3-up invul save.
Yeah.
Too bad I've got a Reliquary of the Penitent that just kind of debuffs that down to a 5.
Yeah.
So all my overcharged plasma can just blip, 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 blip. So, Yep.
And if you're fighting whatever that big knight is that has the invuln ignoring missile that just nukes Ezreal, so your whole army falls apart because you don't have that 4-up invuln anymore, you're like, that guy's dead. We're killing him now.
Oh yeah, the Oathbreaker. Yep. The Shieldbreaker with Oathbreaker guide systems. Yeah. Yep. I've only seen that actually work once, but when it happens, it's like, oh damn it, oh man, yeah. So okay, nope, that's good. I like that. That is one of the. So I really do think that you should have probably one land speeder in your list, whether it's a 75-point throwaway land speeder tornado or a full-on storm speeder that you're planning on shooting with, to be able to get in there and make that happen. It's a shame that Samael lost Sableclaw because oh well, hey, that's fine. All right, I got another idea for you here.
Okay.
So I ran something similar to what I'm about to discuss in the last edition, and now I think it's even better. So if you take get 2 impulsors, and
Okay.
you put one of them just chock full of Hellblasters with assault rifles. So, and then you have another impulsor, and it's full of Blade Guard, 5 Blade Guard veterans. Right, and then so I've got my 2 little guys here, and then they are going to move forward into wherever they need to go, jump their Hellblasters out, jump the Blade Guard out to provide a combat screen, and then Azrael in a drop pod comes down from the sky and gives them a 4-up invul save.
Oh no!
And rerolls.
And impulsors are assault. Yes, they can come out because it's an assault vehicle, and they can still.
It's an assault vehicle.
They can still shoot.
Yep, and they can move when they get out. I'm pretty sure.
Ooh.
So
it's even grosser.
So it's a one-way, like, hey, you got those Nova L's. You can move, like, get around a corner and see or set yourself up into a piece of terrain.
Yeah.
And really just like take a firing position that is going to be commanding. And then you can have your little command element with Azrael, maybe a lieutenant, maybe that banner. Come down out of the sky and just, hey, what's up? Now I have a fire base. Shoot back at me. Shoot back.
Drop your
right, and then charge.
Too.
I don't necessarily think you want to do that because I think you're going to want to be running the Ravewing Apothecary.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. But
yeah, you absolutely could. Right. Or so another idea like that kind of goes with this with the Dark Angels drop pod tactics is company veterans, which I think I discussed in our first episode.
Yeah.
So Dark Angels company veterans, like 2, 3, 4 company veterans with combat shields and a combi weapon.
Yep.
So they can drop in and they can have their own Melta, just provide a little bit of Melta support and some characters and some screening for Azrael. And hey, they got 2-up armor and a 5-up invul save with a combat shield. And that combat shield, you can give them a power weapon or a chainsword, probably just a chainsword, it's cheap. And then this combi weapon, that's actually not a bad little scrap unit, right? They're going to have a 4-up invul because they're next to Azrael. And there's Blade Guard veterans that are there, and Blade Guard veterans are ridiculous. So, and especially if you can manage to make this happen, like a little choke point, we're like, hey, please come at these Blade Guard veterans in the middle of a choke point, and we'll hold the line.
Give them
right?
+1 to hit, so if you have a combat trick, they ignore it.
And you've got the line unbreakable.
Yeah.
So the line unbreakable, you try and swarm me. Only the first rank of people who are in this unit can fight.
Yep.
Or you can actually use line unbreakable offensively as well. Because if I manage to like get around your flank on a unit that's strung out, you can charge into the side of it, and they're not going to be able to consolidate in. Like all my guys can fight 1 or 2 of yours, and when you consolidate into me, you're not going to be able to get into combat with me. So you're not going to be able to actually fight through them. So I think that the Azrael like blaster impulsor, like surprise firebase, has got some legs. I ran it briefly in 8th edition against my brother-in-law who plays Eldar, and he did not enjoy that. So, and that was with the rapid fire ones that were had a 15-inch range and could overcharge the strength 8. But I think that I'll take losing strength 8 on overcharge to get an extra shot and an extra shot at 24 inches. 3 shots at 24 inches each. Holy crap. That's amazing. Especially if I overcharge them suckers to 3 damage. Yeah. So,
that is pretty good. Well, are you ready for another one of mine?
Yeah, take it.
Well, I guess as we're talking about plasma, I'll move it. I'll just follow the lead. One of my hot takes, and this is something that I know a lot of us were wounded by when we got our Index of Astartes, and you brought it up earlier. It is back. The return of a classic. It's like classic Coke. Weapons of the Dark Ages is back. So all of the crazy plasma shenanigans that people haven't had to worry about since September, basically, it is back. The 4 damage plasma cannons here, there, and everywhere. The assault Hellblasters now getting access to more damage from it. The Landspeeder Vengeance can get to 4 damage now.
But all that
craziness.
Inceptors, baby.
Yep, the Inceptors. Although mine always die. I always find a way to get them all killed when they shoot.
So I think that Inceptors are are fantastic, especially with the change in wording on Azrael's bubble. that he doesn't protect individual models within 6 inches with his 4-pinball save. It's units within 6.
Yep.
So if you drop them in like Azrael adjacent, then they're going to get benefit from his real ones to hit. They're going to get the benefit from his 4-pinball. Then you could steady advance them because they're infantry. So now they're going to get they're going to get +1 to hit.
Yep.
And they're going to be overcharging and wounding on, hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s.
Yep. And doing
3 damage each. Blast.
And they have blast, and it's 2 guns, so you're doing
2 guns. Yep. 2d3 shots per with a blast per weapon. So if I shoot it at 6 models, that's 6 shots per guy.
Ugh. And
per guy.
And they're getting all those buffs on top of them. Yeah.
And they're core, so they can benefit. Yep. Oh yeah. So with this little bubble. Yep. So with this little drop pod I was talking about, Azrael plus the lieutenant, just a bare bones stock, like 50 point lieutenant. Reroll ones to hit on all those guys is going to be fantastic. So, or you could put your librarian in there to drop the librarian in.
Yeah.
And
or if you want to be really dumb, you run the chaplain with the prayer that gives you +1 to wound against the closest enemy target in the shooting phase.
Yeah, and you have to use commanding oratory to use it out of sequence once the inceptors show up out of reserve. Yeah,
it gets to be me.
It gets obnoxious. So, one of the things I think I have noticed about this book as I started to go through it is you have nothing is like super just OMGZ WTF. Other than Inner Circle, that's really frankly fantastic and maybe a little too good, but I think that there's so much else in the codex that is also fantastic that it's going to give you a better shot at winning a game. Just having 30 unkillable Terminators, well, they're going to die. Like they can't be killed. In the game that you and I played on TTS, the 5 Deathwing Knights went down in basically 1 turn of combat because they got swarmed by witches. And I make you roll 30 armor saves. You're going to fail. You're going to fail a few of them. So
because I can't roll dice.
Yeah. But Line Unbreakable does kind of Line Unbreakable does kind of help with that, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be harder. So we lost Stand Firm, so you don't get the +1 toughness, which made it harder for small units to bring down Deathwing Knights
and Fortress of Shields.
And Fortress of Shields, but you don't need Fortress of Shields because you got transhuman physiology. So,
exactly.
But I think Line Unbreakable kind of fills the same slot. So. Yeah, I know. All plasma shenanigans are back on the table because it's 2 CP. You're gonna really want to make sure that it's worth it. You're really gonna want to make sure that it's worth it, and don't just say I'm gonna spend a CP every turn on Weapons of the Dark Age. You're gonna really want to make sure it's worth it. So a big unit of Inceptors, a unit of Hellblasters that you're going to protect, and just make sure you shoot it at the right thing at the right time.
Yeah. And like you said, and there's the balance in it. Like we got it back, but it costs more, so you have to be smarter about it, and that balances out the power of it. Yeah.
2 CP to just ridiculously spike the damage of all your weapons, I think is absolutely worthwhile. I would pay it. It probably was undercosted in the last codex, but I wasn't that upset about it because it was the only thing we had that was good and it was too cheap. So, I completely agree. Inceptor Plasma.
I don't feel bad about buying Inceptors now because I bought them right before we got the new codex and found out we didn't have this anymore. I was like, well, these things are going to go on the shelf, and then I get it back. Oh, they're back on the paint table. They're literally on my paint table in the other room right now.
I've had 6 of them. They were one of the first units I got in 8th edition, and I've had 6 of them with dual plasma for like 2.5 years. So as my local meta can attest, plasma Inceptors are, because I used to do the back when the Phobos stuff first came out, and the Phobos Lieutenant had a Warlord trait that could give +1 to hit to a target of his choosing.
Oh, no.
So he would drop in with them and say +1 to hit that.
Yep.
And so they were hitting on 2s and safely overcharging and then re-rolling the 1s because he was a lieutenant. And it was real good. And then they changed the wording on that Warlord trait to be Phobos units only. So fine.
Boo.
But no, that was
fair. It's fair.
So +1 to wound is one of the most powerful rules in the game. Like anything that manipulates the wound dice is you need to pay real close attention to what you can do with that because it's rare and it's powerful, and it bypasses toughness
Yep.
So, and which is one of the big balancing factors. So, yeah. Okay. Well, let's see what else we got. Because we talked about the land speeders, we talked about the bikes, we talked. I think that, and we talked about stasis shells. So I think that one of the things that we're really going to want to start looking at is your librarians. There's a real case for taking multiple librarians now.
Yes.
You brought up the Phobos librarian. So maybe this shouldn't count. Maybe I should go outside. But I'm hype. I'm hype on librarians to be able to turn off auras, to be able to turn off obsec. Turn off obsec's the big one, right? Like I said, I think the winning combo, the winning strategy out of this book, from kind of my initial read, is going to be some combination of turn off obsec and then deliver my obsec to you, and then or because remember that turn off obsec power I think is 20. Hey, I have it in front of me. It's 24 inches. Hey, it's 24 inches. I can turn off OBSEC, and then a Ravenwing unit can full throttle to that.
Yep, and take
it away. So,
well, and that's not even talking about the power that you now fight last, or you have -1 hit and -1 attack, or reroll your wounds and hits. Like, that's also in there. And then what was the other one? The Trephination is the one where it's like it's like a smite, but if you beat their leadership, you just automatically do 3 wounds or 3 mortal wounds instead of D3. So that's not great, but it's not bad.
Well, I disagree that it's not great. I think it's good. I think it's real good.
Yeah.
It's basically, when you run the math out on it, it's a more reliable smite. Because, well, again, if you're casting this with a Chief Librarian, you're getting +1, because Ezekiel comes with +1, and you can give a Chief Librarian +1 to cast. I need to go look at the Reliquary of Galtimore and a couple of other things here. But, so if I'm most stuff has a leadership 7.
Yep.
Right? So that's a 50-50 chance. And then if I'm casting with a +1, that's basically a 60% plus chance. So that means that I'm going to cast Smite, which is D3, maybe D6.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to cast this, and those are both casting on 4s.
Well, and
because I've got +1.
If you hit it with Engulfing Fear first, it takes 1 away from their leadership on top of that.
Yeah, so I think there's a real argument here for like a coven of psychers, 2 Dark Angel psychers and one with the Librarius discipline, because to give you the 5-up invul save, to give you the null zone.
Yeah.
So a group of three librarians with jump packs.
When did we become Eldar?
And we could have a whole other discussion about how this would work with Dark Angel successor chapters. There is a successor chapter that gets to reroll 1s on the psychic dice.
Oh no.
Successor chapters are a big lift, I think, for Dark Angels, because successor chapters don't get access to Inner Circle and Jink.
Oh yeah, that's
so that's a big give. But if you're just say, hey, I'm just going to run the Green Wing, as a one of these others, and that's okay. I'm going to give up this stuff. There's still a lot of stuff in the rest of the codex.
If you're just about killing stuff, like if you're just trying to make stuff that kills, you don't need those defensive buffs. You're not worried about it. That's your play style.
So, and you can put out a real solid amount of mortal wounds, for sure, with a just like 2 or 3 librarians. So it's there's something there, I think. So I'll call not just the Phobos librarian, but just librarious operations in general. Your ability to screw with other people's lives and then buff your own characters. So once again, that could work into the Smack Captain build that we talked about earlier. So
and you have Ezekiel, the Phobos, the Terminator, and the regular one, and the Primaris regular one. So you can get all sorts of them in. And the way you can do that, and my point is, this is the first time I've opened up a book in 9th edition and gone, I want to run 3 detachments. Did you get that vibe?
Yeah, I did. And I think there's honestly, I think we can get away with 2. I don't know if 3 is really the right one.
I don't think it is. I tried it out. I looked at the points, looked at the CP, and this will feed into my last hot take, but I'm just gonna look at it from here. But the idea that you can run a Vanguard, run an Outrider, run a battalion or a patrol or whatever, and all your troop choices have OBSEC, all your bikes have OBSEC if you're running the regular bikes, and your regular Terminators all have OBSEC. So, and this is without having to worry about Rights of War Warlord trait. This isn't about having to worry about the Warlord trait on the Ancient. Like, they just have it. So, so you're spending, so you're spending those points that you would usually be spending on those Warlord traits and relics, and you're just putting it into a detachment that just gives all these things that already, so you don't have to worry about making sure things are within 6 inches of somebody else, or if they get sniped or whatever, right? They just have it. And so I think it's there. I'm gonna try it. I think you're right where you don't, like, the first list that I've built that I'm actually going to try and play is the Outrider and a Patrol. I'm not going to try and push for the Vanguard because, and I guess I'll just hop into it because it's feeding there. My fifth point was you can't, the balance of this book is you can't have it all. Like, yeah, I could run a 3 detachment, but I basically have no command points, so I can't use any of my cool stratagems. I can't give all the Warlord traits and all the relics that I want to all my characters the way I would like to do it, and have all the OBSEC for free on all my guys. Like, it's just, I don't think it would be a good idea. Maybe someone will figure it out. Maybe somebody that doesn't like using stratagems will do it and be like, oh, Bailey's wrong. And I accept that. And I want to hear about it. I think that's cool. But I just don't think you can have it all. And that's the balance in the book. You can't have 3 detachments with all the Warlord traits, all the relics, and all the OBSEC. You got to pick and choose, and that's what's going to kind of keep this book at an initial look. When you look at it, you're like, oh wow, you can do everything, this is really ridiculous. But when you actually break down how many points it is to run 3 squads of Terminators, to run 3 squads of bikes, and then run 3 squads of like intercessors, that's a lot.
To be fair, I think that if there is a faction that you are going to just try and say, hey, you know what, I don't need CP, it's this. Like, if you ran a Vanguard, an Outrider, and a Patrol, that's 8 CP, or I guess it'd be 5 CP, right? Because you're going to get one of them back, right? And what you could do is you could put so you could make Azrael your Warlord, put him in the Deathwing detachment. So you get the Deathwing Vanguard refunded. You get +2 from Azrael because he's your Warlord. You only get that Supreme, his tactical mastermind. You only get his tactical mastermind CP if he is your Warlord now. It used to be you just got 1 for having him. Now he gives you 2, but he has to be your Warlord. Which
is a fair balance.
A Warlord trait that gives me +2 CP, and he gets Brilliant Strategist if he's your Warlord, which definitely doesn't suck. So, you're basically down 3 CP, and you could do it.
As bad as I thought it was.
It's not, but you could burn, and you can use Hero of the Chapter from the main rulebook, I think 3 times in a Strike Force size battle. Maybe it's 2. I gotta go grab
2.
I think you use it twice, which means you get 3 Warlord traits out of the main book, and then you can use Paragon of the Chapter from Dark Angels 1 more time. So you can have 4 Warlord traits, one of which can be stacked on someone who already has a Warlord trait.
Yeah.
That's not a named character, so that's pretty good. And you can have 3 relics. One's free. You can use the relic stratagem twice, and you can honor sergeants. You can give your Knightmaster. You can give one of your sergeants or the Knightmaster or the Huntmaster a Warlord trait or a relic as well. So, and like giving OBSEC to your guys, Jink to all your guys, Inner Circle, Transhuman to all your Deathwing. There's hey, you could start the game with 5, 6 CP, get 1 back every turn.
Get 2 because there's a Warlord trait that on a 4-up you just get 1. And I think that one works out. I think that the whole point of that being there is that it operates outside of the one you get back every turn, so you could technically just farm it if you really want to commit to it. I don't remember what it's
there's
called, a core one.
I'm looking right now. So there's definitely, like, you could do it with this book. You absolutely could.
Yeah.
So.
And that's my main hot take is that, like, I've been waiting for this book. Everybody's been waiting for this book. When it got pushed back a month, all of our hearts were breaking. We were upset. But I've got it. I've looked at it. I understand the whinging. The people like Why Do Space Marines get all the cool stuff? Why is this Dark Angels book so good? It's like, well, first of all, 8th edition was a mess for Dark Angels players.
Hey, Dark Angels OG here. I've been playing Dark Angels since 2001. They have always been the worst Space Marine chapter. Some Space Wolves players might argue with me about that, but I feel that was the case. I mean, they had some real edge case stuff that someone who was really experienced could make it hum, but this is the book that we deserve. And and it's strong. It's real good. It's real good, but it's not. I don't think that it's OP. Inner Circle's real good, but you can't put enough of it on the table with all the other cool stuff you're gonna be able to do to win the game to make it to break it. I really think, yeah, I agree with Bailey. I think that you're gonna see probably one Outrider detachment because Optech Ravenwing with the speed they have is too good to ignore. Because once again, maneuver wins games, movement wins games. Movement's the only phase you can control completely by yourself, and OBSEC is an incredibly powerful rule in a game that is designed around holding objectives. Yep. So, and then having your Ravenwing Vanguard, and then probably an a patrol detachment, and a patrol detachment just to have your librarian, and like 1 or 2 librarians, or a Deathwing Smash Captain, because there's my boy right there. Shout out. And a couple of backfield holders, a couple of tactical squads for the backfield. Yeah. And we're G2G. We good to go. One other thing I'd like to put into this. So the way the Deathwing, or the first company rule is worded, is Deathwing or Inner Circle. If every model has Deathwing or Inner Circle, and you know what's relevant about that, I think, is that all of your No. You can give Dreadnoughts the Deathwing with the rites of initiation, but
Black Knights have Inner Circle, don't they?
They are. Yes. So are Ravenwing Apothecaries.
Oh,
all
no.
all of your Ravenwing. All of your Ravenwing characters, including Talon Masters, are Inner Circle.
There you go.
So you can put those Ravenwing characters into a Deathwing detachment.
That is a good
catch. So you could just blend. So if you just want, hey, no, I do just want my Deathwing brick, but you need the Ravenwing support for them, or you want to make it a little more fluffy, then you have your Vanguard, and then you put a unit of Black Knights in there, because Black Knights are great, and then you can put your Apothecary, your Ancient, your Champion, and your Talon Master can be your second HQ. Yeah. Or you can, because I don't know why you wouldn't want to bring probably a Talon Master, I think, because you're going to want a little bit more shooting. But yeah.
And if you run the Deathwing Knights, the Ravenwing command guys, the characters don't count towards your force organization slot.
That's for the Black Knights.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If you run the Black Knights in that Vanguard, all those characters aren't going to fill up the spots for your Terminators. Yep. Because they're going to count outside the box. Or they're going to count
outside the box. Yep. And Deathwing Command Squads, there are some definitely ways to abuse the Deathwing Command Squad's bodyguard role, which we discussed ad nauseum last episode. Talon Masters being shielded by like one Terminator who's a command Terminator. They don't get OBSEC in this, so it's only Terminators and Relic Terminators, which the old Tartaros or Cataphracti Terminators only get it. But you're a Deathwing Ancient, if you're bringing Deathwing, you're probably going to bring a Deathwing Ancient because you can give them Pendant of Remembrance, and Pendant of Remembrance gives one of them basically discussing resilient. You can give one unit in the command phase. You can nominate one Deathwing Infantry Corps to get -1 damage. And if you give him Steadfastic, it's not an aura anymore, which is, once again, that would be too good. Transhuman plus that as an aura would be too good. Yeah. So, and it's in the command phase, so you have to, you can't use it to turn drop in.
Yeah.
So there may be an argument to have that guy on the board behind a command squad, behind a Deathwing command squad or something, or I don't know. You have to, or you could use it with a Deathwing, a Blade Guard Ancient who can go in an Impulsor.
Yep.
But the Impulsor would have to be in a different detachment because it cannot transport Terminators, so it would break your Deathwing Vanguard. Yep. So there's a couple ways to deliver them to where on the board you want them to be, but I think that realizing that you can have your Ravenwing, your super badass Ravenwing support characters in a Deathwing OBSEC detachment is pretty baller. So I think that's going to be my hot take because
Well, I guess the one thing that because we had one repeat maybe, and you were talking about that second captain, it made this pop in my head. What do you think of the Strike Master, the Lieutenant Deathwing guy?
So I like the concept of him for one. One of the things I loved when the First Legion Horus Heresy book came out was they told us a lot more about the history of the Dark Angels traditionally. And one of the things, and there was a character from the Dreadwing, which was one of the other of the six wings of the Hexagrammaton. So there's a title called Eschaton, which was a character or an officer of the Dreadwing that had supervised the genocide of an entire race or the destruction of an entire planet.
Yikes.
So it's like, this to me seems like a bit of a throwback to that. Hey, you know, we've got, like, there are officers, there's rank structures within the wing of the Hexagrammaton, and also, you know, within the 100 secret orders. So having special little characters that do that are really, you know, I really enjoy.
Yeah.
The Strike Master, you know, he can get the same loadout that most Terminators can. He can get the Lightning Claws. He can get a Mastercrafted Power Weapon or Thunderhammer, or he can get a Mace of Absolution.
That's the key. That's the key to me.
This, which is the key. And a Storm Shield and a Mace of Absolution. He's got Inner Circle.
Paragon of the Chapter him.
Yeah, Paragon of the Chapter him, yeah. And so he's got tactical precision. So he's got the Lieutenant Aura, and he's a company hero, so he can come in with your lieutenant. So you could take a Talon Master. You could take a Talon Master and a Strike Master.
Oh no! It just gets even better.
in one spot in your Vanguard detachment.
Better.
So yeah, I'm a fan. I was hoping there would be like one other little cool rule that he would have, but he doesn't. In fact, he can take a Mace of Absolution, which is great. But he's got 3 attacks, which is actually the same as most lieutenants. So he doesn't have a captain stat line. He hasn't quite earned his own captaincy. But interesting, it says in the lore, from what I did see in this, is that Strike Masters, so the lieutenants of the Deathwing, are more senior than the Deathwing Knights.
Yes. Which
is interesting because previously they said the Deathwing Knights was the last stop you had on your before you got your own captaincy. So the members of the Deathwing Knights were promoted from the Knights directly to captaincy of one of the companies, to company command. So now it looks like there's another spot there.
And you get promoted in charge of the prisons. That's the other key thing that was in the new
which
books.
is interesting. I did see that page while I was eating tacos. While I was eating tacos earlier, I read about how the lieutenants are basically the jailers of the Deathwing.
Yeah.
Which is cool because you can't trust your serfs to hold the fallen, right? You let your lieutenants do that, right? And
the
so you're
of all the cells and the setting up of all the cells, like if they're psychers or
speaking
not
the 121 secret words, and there's as usual 40K is completely over the top setting. So another thing I'd like to observe, Interrogator Chaplains have kind of gotten a bit of a buff here, because Interrogator Chaplains in the 8th edition Codex only had 3 attacks. Now they've got 4. They have a full-on captain stat line, which was the downside, which is why I originally was considering a Smash Captain instead of a Smash Chaplain, because I was like, Chaplains have 3 attacks. No, in the book they got 4 now. So they
So those are hot takes?
Yeah, I think I'm good. That's my hot take.
Well, those are the hot takes from the Path to Redemption podcast on the new Supplementary Codex. So it's now time for the monthly challenge. So because we actually had like a month, we actually had time to get stuff done. Did you get it done, Heath? Did you build your?
I'm gonna call it. Yep. I built here's my Ravenwing Apothecary.
Mm-hmm.
He's not all the way done yet, but I learned how to green stuff robes, which is a thing I asked for help with the last podcast, and I figured it out. And I went out and I bought my company command box today because I found one. I went to every single game store on this island, and I found one company command box.
Man.
So I got an Arthesium, and I'm gonna. So now I've got the tools I need, and I also got my chaplain with his robe too. So
nice. I didn't do robes, so yeah, I'll let that. That counts. But I have my Ravenwing.
You got the back banner. I've got back banners. I need to put back banners on mine. So I'm going to finish.
I had to go take this off the Dark Vengeance model because the one that comes in the upgrade sprue, it doesn't fit over the top of the spiky bit on the back of the Indominus Chaplain backpack. I couldn't get it to fit, so I had to go in and do some surgery to get this done. But if you want to see how I did it, I got again on the Dankless Wargaming blog, I went through how I did it, and the fun part about those is I start writing those, and then sometimes I found out my original plan is bad, and I just am like, hey folks, I messed up. Here's what I did instead, and it's a journey every time I start writing one of those, because it doesn't always work out the way I want.
Yep. If you need more back banners, I have had success getting them from Pop Goes the Monkey. So you don't have to go find those super rare Ravenwing bike boxes. Pop Goes the Monkey does sell 3D printed in very high quality resin that I've had and same thing with the hooded helmets. You can get there's a lot of, they're called like Raven Knight or something or it takes a little bit of doing, but you can find it.
Bookmarked.
So, yeah.
And then you gave me a challenge too, which was to play with the Dark Talon, and I played a couple games with it. I dropped the bomb a few times. It didn't quite work out where like I was gonna like charge in and I couldn't get shot at, except the one game potentially, because basically whatever thing I dropped the bomb on, I just killed it, or I used it to like snipe characters, which is the most recent thing I did when I played a Chaos player. But when I played Heath on TTS in the last month, I did drop a bomb on some Dark Eldar Drukhari bikes, which probably saved my bikes from getting shot at by a Tantalus and a bunch of Reapers for a turn because they couldn't run away from me, and they instead just shot my flyer and killed it instead.
Yeah, but hey, no, it kept my bikes from falling back. I think the thing that happened there was, if you had, the disposition of forces in that game was we had two big L's right in the middle, and and Drukhari are just so fast, and like I said, I think that there's a lot of overlap in the skill set between playing Drukhari and playing Ravenwing, because you just need to always be aggressive, just be pushing. If they die, that's cool, but here's more. And I was able to just kind of pin him in his deployment zone, and some of the stuff got out, but the Deathwing Knights got to my Talos and didn't kill it, because I rolled like a monster for my invul saves.
Especially after I re-rolled like double ones into a 12 or something silly on the charge.
Yeah,
I
made a 12-inch charge.
Come on, Vect me.
Nope. I made a 12-inch charge and then got into the Talos, and then I just
didn't die.
Stand all the invul saves, and then their feel no pains, their powerful pains, and then they didn't kill him back because Deathwing Knights are impossible to kill. But I had a big ass unit of 16 witches jump out of the Tantalus and then just surround them and tar pit them.
Yeah, they took care of it.
Yeah. But I don't remember who went first. Did you go first or did I go first in that game?
I don't remember.
That was like a month ago.
I think I went first.
Yeah, I think you're right. So you definitely got down one side of the board, but because of the way the terrain was stationed, your Valiant never got a chance to shoot at my big anti-armor stuff because it was all hiding behind. But if you were able to get the bike or get the okay, sorry, I just had a quick brain fault.
That's all right.
Quick brain fault there. If you were able to get that bomb down into my side of the field, and then stop something there, and I think that with the new rules we have with the hunt and that pregame move, that extra plus 3 inches of movement, there's a much higher chance that you could have pulled it off. Drukhari aren't really the right army for that to work against, because they're going to try and want to see you move first, and then they're going to react to that. So as soon as you move one thing a little out of position, there's all over you. But against
I will tell you
more static armies, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I did run the dark in that game where I ran it against the Chaos Army. I shot the Rift Cannon at a Hellbrute, got 3 shots, got all 3 wounds through, rolled max damage, and just one shot at it. So that was
9 mortal wounds.
So that was worth it. So thank you for making that challenge, because I just have not run it, and I wouldn't have run it until you challenged me. And then that one game made it all worth it, because the person I did it to wasn't expecting it. He's a good friend that we're always trying to, like, in a friendly way, get one over on the other one. And I was like, hey, I got this new thing. It does this. He's like, okay, whatever. And then like it just like was perfect, like just the perfect rolls. He was like, man, I'm like, whew, didn't know it could do that, but
I got some hot new heat. Yeah, that was what I have. And I told my buddy Cass, was like, hey, I got some hot new heat. Like bring out your ridiculously sick like 8.5 edition Imperial Fists.
Oof.
and then Deathwing combined assault and
Yeah.
rolled his backfield open. He's like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
There we go.
Do it.
So yeah, this new codex is powerful. It's balanced.
Yeah.
There are choices that you have to make, and I can't see from here the one obvious, like, this is the way they're pushing you to go. This is the first time I feel like that the rest of the chapter kind of got the same power treatment as the Deathwing and the Ravenwing.
Yeah.
Because it's always in the previous felt that, like, hey, if a chapter gets 17 stratagems and X amount of relics, X amount of warlord traits, then they're able to apply all of those special rules to all of their stuff. Whereas with the Dark Angels, it's always kind of been fractured, right? Like, so much resources are dedicated to the two wings that if you're like, well, I'm not really trying to do that, I want to do this instead, then you're kind of left out. Sadly. But I don't feel like that's the case. There's still so much that we haven't touched on. Interactions with the main rulebook. There's 2 stratagems in the main rulebook that deal just with bikers and land speeders. So like if you just want to fall back and shoot but not charge, that's 1 CP. You can give your bikers or your vehicle, your speeders -1 to hit with Steel Rider. There's a lot more stuff we can do with this. So we are love to hear your feedback and see what you guys are coming up with.
Well, we do have something like that. So how would you handle this? This comes from YouTube, from a comment. This is J-Man Holiday 42. He had something from the last podcast too, so thank you for coming back, listening again. But he wants to know how we deal with Hive Guard spam. So apparently he's been playing in his local meta, a Tyranid player who's running that 12 to 18 Hive Guard blocks, right? So Hive Guard, their ballistic skill 3, which is one of the few things in that book that are naturally 3 ballistic skill 3. They have a line of sight ignoring gun that's like 36 inches, I think.
Yep.
Maybe
I remember
48.
them from the beginning of. I think it's 36, but they're D3 damage each. They ignore line of sight. And they get a lot of shots. Yeah.
Yeah, D3 shots, I think, or 1 or something like that, or 2 shots each, and they can shoot. One squad can shoot twice. It's 2 shots, strength 8, -2 D3. That's what it is. Something like that. And he just wanted to know how we would deal with that.
Well, I'm going to look up what the stat line on a Hive Guard is real quick. Because if they have a monster keyword, then that's going to change.
No, they're infantry. That's why they can shoot
They're
twice.
Infantry?
They're T4.
Okay.
4-up save, I think. You put them in cover, they got a 3-up.
Yep, they have the infantry keyword. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. I think with the new book, you've got, because they're infantry, you can, the stasis shell thing is going to work real good on them. They can't shoot in combat.
Yeah.
So, and them being 36 inches, hey, if you get first to move, depending on if he screens them properly, then you have the opportunity to get some Ravenwing bikes in there and touch them. And they looks like they have 2 attacks each, T5, strength 4, 4-up weapon skill. I'm not worried about them in close combat. I'm going to touch them with some Outriders or some Black Knights and try and tie them up and prevent them from falling back.
Well,
so
I recently played a Tyranid player with some, and I flew 2 Dark Talons back there and just lit them up. I just shot them with everything, and that dealt. There's only 1 squad, but that really dealt with the problem because it's not about killing all of them in one turn. It's about picking off enough guys in each squad, if there's more than 1 squad, so that when they shoot and they shoot twice, you're not getting hit with a bazillion shots.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to make them inefficient.
Yeah, if he's got 18 of these things, that's a lot of resources. So so with that Impaler cannon, they're 45 points each.
Yeah.
So it's 45 times 18 is a big number. That's nearly 1,000 points.
Yep.
If I'm sitting here staring at a computer, I could probably just tell it to figure out the math.
The thing to remember with that, though, is that a 30-man Termagant squad is 120 points or something like that. So. Yeah,
for sure. So if they're screened properly, which I'm going to assume that the opponent is competent, and they will be, you're looking at what you're going to need to do is probably set up so use your pregame move and your extra range, get up and just get right up on top of that screen. And I would expect that they probably don't. It's like back in the day when we would bubble wrap like 2 to 3 layers deep.
Yeah.
So if you get up in there and then shoot your way through the screen to get the charge in.
Yeah.
So if that's possible, and then you can get in there, tag them, prevent them from falling back, or So we don't really have a whole lot in the way of indirect range fire power. I mean, Space Marines do, but it's not really a thing that everybody does these days.
Yeah.
Or the other option would be, depending on where they put them, once again, the impulsor Hellblaster trick.
Yeah.
Is like I think that's just a cool piece of toolkit, because you're gonna want to have Hellblasters and throw them in that thing, and even if they are screened very, very well, you're gonna be able to move those Hellblasters and probably get a line of sight on them, because 24 inches is a long way, right? Those Hellblasters have 18 shots, 24 inches. These guys are T5, so you're gonna be wounding them on 3s, overcharged weapons, and they're 2 wounds, they're 3 wounds each, overcharged weapons, weapons in the Dark Age. And you're going to pick them up, gone, right? And you can actually, and there's squads of 3 to 6, so have half your guys shoot at one squad, half your guys shoot at the other squad.
Yeah.
Right? Weapons of Dark Age will still work on both of them, and so off they go. And I'm going to get 9 shots into each squad. I'm going to hit on 3s. I'm going to reroll 1s because I have my captain or Azrael there.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to be wounding on 3s. Maybe I'm reroll 1s if my Talon Master came along for the ride.
Yeah.
And that's going to do some work. They're not going to like what happens there. So you're going to take 4 or 5 out of each of those squads, if not wipe them. Then he's going to have 1 squad left. And then all the rest of that stuff going to go, I need to kill those goddamn Hellblasters. so he's going to redirect fire onto the Hellblasters with the remaining Impaler cannons, because that's his big alpha unit. This is 810 points, I think I just calculated out of his unit. Yeah. They're all going to shoot at that, which is what you want, because Azrael's there next to him. He's got a 4 pinball save. Then he shoots these strength 8 -2 D3 damage weapons at your Hellblasters. You're like, hey, Raj, transhuman.
Yeah.
Right? Boom. And then he swarms you with Termagants. And then you line Unbreakable.
Yeah.
And then 5 Termagants get to fight you. And then you just you punch your way out. And Azrael is definitely no slouch in hand-to-hand combat.
And that one thing we haven't mentioned is that fire discipline, which is the tactical doctrine, super doctrine, where infantry that are not Deathwing can shoot rapid fire and assaults. It's an assault weapon. You can just Hellblaster your way out of combat.
Yeah, he charges you. He's like, hey, that's cool, man. I get to hit you on 2s with and then next turn I will shoot you on 4s. Because it's Blitz 5 with +1 to hit because I stood still.
Yeah.
And then if there's any of you left, that's cool.
Again.
There's probably not gonna be.
Oh man.
So yeah. Also, note a lot of the combi weapons don't seem to have the -1 to hit if you fire both barrels rule anymore.
Ooh, I did not notice that.
At least it's not in the data sheet. So please tell me if I'm wrong on that. But that is.
I'll go back and look.
Once again, this recommendation requires is tech, right? You got to have the toolkits. To know what to be able to do this kind of stuff. If you were to say, hey, here's what I got and here's what I want to provide, here's what I usually run, then maybe we could make a more specific recommendation. But how I would approach it is something along those lines, because I'm going to run the Ravenwing, and I'm going to try the stasis shell thing I'm going to have the tools to pull this stasis shell out in basically all my lists. And I think the Hellblaster Impulsor thing is also something I'm probably going to tech into for most of my lists, if I got the points, because you can go real deep down that Ravenwing Outrider detachment. It can get real expensive.
Oh yeah. I think I just saw one and it says it does still. I was looking at a Relic one, Combi Plaz. Yeah, it still has the -1.
Okay. I think I was looking at Azrael's. His does not.
Oh yeah, maybe his isn't.
So his does not. And his plasma barrel on the Lion's Roar, the Lion's Wrath, is always overcharged, and it does not overheat.
That's very
so
important.
You can't kill Azrael by overheating your plasma.
Dang it.
Yeah.
I did that once to a Deep Striking Blood Angel Smash Captain that did the whole gimmick, and I'm like, oh, you're charging me? Overwatch you? I'm dead. You can't come in. I intentionally re-rolled a hit into a 1 because I didn't want him to get into combat with my guy.
Oh, that sucks. Oh, all right.
Well, I hope
that
helps you, J-Man Holiday 42, and please keep watching and listening and commenting, and we'll just keep answering questions as you have them. So, we just want to thank you all for listening to this month's episode of The Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast. Our next episode, we'll be tentative about it because I know Heath wants to up the ante. Like I said, I got a couple tournaments, so I got to work out a schedule. So maybe Heath and I get a schedule worked out, and we'll start delving more into specific parts of the new supplementary codex here in a few weeks. If not, look for March if we're still on our monthly bit, and that's kind of where we're at. If that works with you, Heath.
Yeah. Watch this space.
Ooh, I forgot about our monthly challenge. We didn't give ourselves a new one. Mine was going to be, can we build one of our new releases? Like, I'm going to try and build this Storm Speeder.
Let's do. Yeah. I will also try and do the Storm Speeder. So we'll see how fancy we can make it. See how much I can church it up. So
that'll be cool. Yep. I still have 2 Ravenwing upgrade sprues, so I'm going to
go with that. I got a few as well. So.
All right. So that works. So until March, or maybe a few weeks, if we're lucky, I'm Bailey from Dank Wargaming.
Hey, it's Heath with Table War Hawaii.
Stay loyal, Angels.